Welcome to my ocean-only hardcore world. If you guys are new to this series, I'll have a playlist linked down below to the entire series, which you should definitely check out because this is the best ongoing 100-day series there is on YouTube. But in this video, I'm going to be attempting to survive up to 800 days. We're getting so close to 1,000 days, guys, so drop a like on this video if you guys want to see this series get to 1,000 days. But there is also less than 2 weeks to be able to get your Paulgg 1 mil sub club merch, guys, so make sure you get that 1 mil sub club merch while it's still available, because after this time is up, it will not be available ever again. And if you guys are new here and you do enjoy the video, make sure you guys smash that subscribe button, and let's get into the video. Day 701. Now that we're back in the ocean world, it's time to get back on the grind. By that I mean, I'm gonna quickly just run around in the chicken forest and collect all the eggs so I can start yeeting them into the sky. I feel like I'm running out of chickens. I don't know. It's getting a little empty over here, so I need to spawn some more. Afterwards, I figured it's about time I get the llama out of the potato farm. Still confused how this even happened, but I need to get him out of here because he's contaminating my potatoes. So instead, I just tied him up right next to the brown pearl so he could be jealous of his brother. Afterwards, I figured I'd loot the potato farm, but it seems like one of the potato boys isn't really doing much of any sort of trades to his friend. So I decided to move his composter a little bit closer, and then maybe that'll solve the issue. But the other potato boy is cranking. This guy's getting tons of potatoes. So afterwards, I took those potatoes and did some stonks, and decided to dunk a couple of my villagers to get zombified, since I'm going to be doing some stonks later also. But to do that, I was also going to need some more potions of weakening. So I went to go brew up a couple. And now that we're done cooking it up in the kitchen, it's time to re-villagerize, or whatever you want to call it. Day 702. It wouldn't be an ocean only video without taking a trip out to Mount Chickpea, but this time I decided to boat all the way over there in the brown pearl and take Captain Llama over there so I could build him a surprise later on in this video. I also just realized that we never named the captain, so comment down below some names. Either way, after arriving, I said hi to Chickpea and then made my way over to the banished cartographer. I decided that it's finally time to unbanish him and take him home, mostly because I just wanted another cartographer at home so I could be able to do some glass trades. That's why I decided to try to take the other llama all the way back to Mount Chickpea to hang out with his friend. But I wanted to fly over there because I'm getting tired of boating, but this llama's dummy thick and he wouldn't let me fly. And so I gave up, and now he's just gonna kind of just sit there in the ocean being water llama, getting all soggy. Day 703, I decided it's finally time to fix up the iron farm. There's nothing wrong with it. I just wanted it to be a lot easier to be able to get the iron. I'm getting tired of climbing up the ladders. So I wanted to set up a chest and hopper system, but to be able to do that, I was gonna need some wood from the storage room. But then I remember I lost my purple shulker box inside the auto sorter in the last 100-day video. So I pretty much just spent the day trying to figure out where it went wrong, where'd my shulker box go, and how to fix the problem. But it all worked out in the end because I ended up getting my shulker box, and I found out where the problem was. Day 704, it's finally time to set up all those hoppers and chests for the iron farm. This way I'll never have to climb all the way up that thing just to loot it ever again. And I'll probably honestly never have to empty it out again either. Since there's just all the chests and hoppers, it could just back up all the way to the top. But while upgrading this thing, I actually realized I want to do a real upgrade for this. I want to add another layer to this farm to be able to see if I can be able to get more iron out of it. I don't know if it's going to break it or if it's going to mess with the spawns for the iron golems, but either way, we're going to find out. Originally, I wanted to start the project to upgrade the farm today, but while gathering all the resources I was going to need, I realized that I needed some string to be able to make beds for some more villagers. But I did, however, find a chest with a bunch of gunpowder in it, which is going to come in clutch later for netherite mining. But like I said, to be able to build up this iron farm, I was going to need more string. So I flew over to the spider spawner farm and hacked away at a bunch of baby spiders for the day to collect a bunch of string to be able to make the wool, to be able to then make the beds. Day 706 to 709. It's finally time to upgrade this thing. I thought that since I'm just adding another layer to this farm that it'd be easy. Well, I mean, kinda. Started off by building up a new platform to be able to set up all the beds, which meant that I was going to need a bunch more villagers, which is always kind of tedious because they're villagers and I hate villagers so much. But to make it easier, I set up a rail system from the penthouse all the way over to the iron farm, so I could be able to just send them off and live in the bubble for the rest of their lives. But they knew what was coming and tried to avoid the minecart as much as possible. Ugh. But they didn't have the determination that I did. So after getting their consent, I forced the villagers into the minecart and sent them over. And now that I got 2 villagers over here, it's time to just feed the beasts so that they could just breed and have more babies. But that's when an iron golem already spawned, so I mean that's a good sign of this thing already working. Then I closed off the top, built a cage for the iron golems so that they could be able to spawn up there. And the last thing to do was just set up a hopper system all the way down and connect it to the chest that I set up earlier. And then bam, we got ourselves a fully upgraded iron farm. I don't really know why I did this. this, but I'm just making the world more OP. But after setting all this up, it actually reminded me that the zombie piglin farm's auto sorter is broken. So I figured I'd go give it a fix. And after a quick diagnosis, I came to the conclusion that it must be the glass that the repeaters are sitting on. Since in the last 100 days, we found out that glass doesn't really work well with this auto sorter. So I swapped it out and decided to AFK for the rest of the day in hopes that it was fixed. And it wasn't. So I'm officially giving up on this thing. I did, however, get a ton of XP out of this, so I guess that was kind of worth it. Day 711 to 712. In the last 100 days, I began upgrading my wither skeleton farm, which is set up so that only withers spawn on wither roses and nothing else can spawn in here. But I was going to need a whole lot more wither roses, so I don't know why I'm here in the nether when I actually need to be in the end. And all this flying around just so I could be able to make that example and say that made me waste a day, so go me. But then I AFK'd at the Enderman farm for a day and just let loads of Endermen just plummet to their doom. And when I flew down there to loot the chest, there was a whole bunch of wither roses. This thing's actually a really good farm. Day 713 to 715. I'm back in the nether and on my way over to the wither farm. That is until I realized I was going to need a ton of nether rack for this thing, because I'm going to have to dig up all these nether bricks just to be able to replace them with nether racks so that I could then plant wither roses on them, because you can't put them on the nether bricks for some reason. And it's just a really long and tedious job. But when it was all done, I almost finished the entire right side of the farm. And so I figured I'd give it a test, and there was a lot of withers, but not on the right side. This thing still needs a lot of work to be able to be fully done, but honestly, I'm just so nethered out right now. Day 716. Decided I wanted to make a new pickaxe with silk touch. So I grabbed some diamonds and crafted one up. Then I made my way over to the enchantment table, which apparently was having a good day because it offered me silk touch on the first enchantment. But because I got a small brain, I actually forgot that you can't combine silk touch with fortune. So instead of wasting the pickaxe, I decided to double down on it. Made my way over to the trader tower so I could be able to do some trades with my librarians. I bought a couple efficiency books and a mending book so I could be able to upgrade that beast. Day 717, we're on our way down to the mines, where I was actually greeted by an enderman. But it was finally time to put that silk touch pickaxe to work. Well, that is after I also slay all the mobs down here. Jeez, why is there so many? I'm getting tired of having to mine tons of cobblestone to then have to cook it and then turn it into stone brick. So I figured mining with silk touch, efficiency, and haste would be pretty OP. But I forgot I built my storage room above the underground beacon. So then while trying to move it, I was getting attacked by a bunch of relentless mobs. But although they had the numbers, I did have the strength, and they actually just didn't stand any chance. And so finally on day 718, I spent the entire day just mining some rocks. Yep, just mining my life away. Nothing too much to talk about here. Day 719, decided it's about time to upgrade the bee farm. Well, I wanted to make an auto farm for them, but I also wanted it to be spacious. So I spent the entire day just building out a new platform right next to the chicken forest. And after building out the outline, I didn't realize I made this thing just so big. Oh well, anything from my baby bees. So I closed out the day by filling it all in with dirt. Day 720 to 728. It's time to build out that bee farm. I'll have a tutorial link down below for the auto farm setup I'm using. Technically, this is a bit overkill since I only have one beehive at the moment, but I am planning for the future, and for the sake of stonks, I'm going to start this off by building this thing much bigger than it needs to be. Ha, get it? Bee? Ha. Okay. But after building up the farm and knowing how tall it was going to be, it was time to close it in so that the bees won't escape. But while building, I was actually visited by another wandering trader. But like normal, their sales were subpar. The only thing that was really interesting was vines. But I also did buy a couple more birch saplings because at the time I didn't remember if I actually had birch or not, even though it's gross. But I also bought a bunch of cyan dye to add to the collection. But after that, I pretty much just finished up with closing in the bee bubble. And the last thing I had to do was finally move over all the bees and plant a bunch of flowers. Look how happy they are. They just love life now. And the beehive was already full of honey. So I managed to get 3 honeycomb out of it, and I was able to make another beehive. The bee expansion's already happening. Day 729. Emptied out the mob farm of all the gunpowder, which actually turned out to be more than a shulker box full, so I decided to start taking it over to the storage room, where I already had more gunpowder. So then it ended up being more than a double chest full of gunpowder, which actually, I mean, this is the most I've ever had. That's because I'm trying to craft up a ton of TNT, because I'm trying to make some good progress on making that netherite beacon. But to be able to craft up all that TNT, it was time to take a trip all the way out to the desert island, where I'm going to just shovel my life away. I'm definitely starting to run out of sand out here though, so I'm going to need to find another solution soon. Day 730 to 743, I crafted up all that TNT and jumped into the nether. And this time I was much more strategic with how I was going to be placing my TNT, because last time I blew it all up in one giant line, and then a giant lava pool just fell right on top of everything I blew up. So I have no idea how much ancient debris is over there. there. All I know is that I wasn't going to make the same mistake this time. And I didn't actually. This mining trip went way better than the last one. Granted, I still had to fight through tons and tons of lava and zombie piglins, but regardless, I did get a ton of ancient debris. By the end of it, I actually had 6.5 stacks. And so on day 744, I started smelting all that ancient debris. And I started quickly crafting it in netherite, and I realized that, yeah, well, I'm going to need a lot more gold because this is actually so much. So I went back to the nether all the way up to the zombie piglin farm on the roof, but even that didn't have enough in it. So I had to AFK for the rest of the day, which worked out because I got tons of XP and all the gold I was going to need. And so finally on day 745, we're back at home, and I'm finally smelting down the last of those ancient debris and turning it all into netherite. And with all the netherite I crafted, I managed to make 11 whole blocks, which actually ended up being enough to cover one entire side of this thing. There's only one thing I quickly wanted to go do, and that was to swap out the glass on top with a black stained glass. And bam, look at this thing. It's already looking really good. I mean, that thing's definitely going to the thumbnail. I'll tell you that right now. Day 746. I figured it was about time I went and cleaned out the honeycomb farm. And even though I didn't really spend too much time in the overworld since I built this thing, it's definitely producing a lot of honeycomb, that's for sure. So now I can finally start making some more beehives and then also breeding the bees, but for that I need to wait for them to come out. I mean, it just takes some time. But after breeding the bees, I decided to go grab a bunch of flowers from the iron farm so I could start planting them all over the place for them. Soon I'll have all the honey in the world. Well, I kind of do already have all the honey in this world because, I mean, it's an ocean-only world. And yep, days 747 to 748. It's time to go on a new adventure. I wanted to build a giant new brown pearl for Captain Llama. But for this build, I wanted to use a lot of spruce wood. But unfortunately, the only way for me to get spruce wood in this world is for me to fly around and just go, is to fly all over the place. And unfortunately, the only way to me... And unfortunately, the only way for me to get all that spruce wood is to just fly around mindlessly all around this world, just breaking down tons of shipwrecks. But at least on this adventure, I did find another giant island. And this one actually had a ravine for the first time. And I was hoping that maybe there'll be a grass block inside because I've seen that happen before, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. And for those of you who are wondering, yeah, I did talk to the developer of this world, and yeah, it technically should be impossible for me to get a grass block, but we'll see. We'll see about that. But at least I'll have an island nearby so I can be able to rob it of all the sand that I need later. After that, I pretty much just continued to break down tons of shipwrecks until I had enough wood to be able to build up my own. And so on day 749 to 762, I spent the entire time just building up the new brown pearl. Now, I'm by no means a build lord, but I mean, you guys know that when I gotta turn up, I can build a pretty nice looking house every now and then. I also want to add another disclaimer that I've never built a ship in Minecraft before, or a boat of any kind for that matter. The only boats I ever build are ones that are inside of the crafting table. So I just did my best to use a normal shipwreck as a reference to be able to build this thing. But after tons of hard work and lots of building, I finally finished what might be my least favorite build ever. Yep, nah, I hate this thing. I'm fully prepared for the roasting to come. And honestly, I feel like one of my major mistakes when building this thing is I did a 2-block center. So, I mean, the flagpole is a bit thick. But regardless, I mean, I'm not going to be the one captaining this thing. Captain Llama is. So I flew all the way out to Mount Chickpea to pick up Captain Llama. And I broke him free of that old nasty brown pearl. And I flew him all the way back home because honestly, it's way faster and I wanted to save some time. But we were coming in a little bit too hot. And Captain Llama's not a flyer. And so we ended up hitting the old bee farm. I knew I should have broken that thing down. Now today's just a horrible day. And don't worry, of course I created a tombstone so that we could be able to remember the best captain ever. We didn't even get to name him, but I had no other choice but to take Water Llama and make him the new captain of the Brown Pearl because he's the only other person qualified. But that's also when I realized that there's a bunch of scoundrels down in the poop deck. One of them almost blew up and sank me ship. But now that that's all over with, it's finally time to move on. Day 760. Okay, day 764. It was definitely time to go tear down the old bee farm. It's blocking the view. It's blocking the view. Why am I saying view? It's view. It's blocking the view of my new boat. And I mean, it also did slay Captain Llama. So I definitely got a lot of pleasure breaking this thing down. But when finishing it up, it actually turns out that we had a chicken try to escape. And I was honestly contemplating banishing him all the way to Mount Chickpea, where he'd be spending the rest of his life. But I decided to give him one more chance. And then afterwards, I went back to go check on my bee farm. And dang, this thing's cranking a lot of honeycombs. Now I can finally finish out building up this row of farmers. So now I'm going to get even more honeycombs. And eventually I'll expand this thing so I can be able to also get honey bottles. But I also need some more bees, which, I mean, yeah, they're a little shy. They take some time to come out, don't worry. But eventually they finally came around, and they did. Day 765 to 769. It's about time I go do some trades with my villagers. You guys know I'm about that stonks life. I mean, just check out the floors on my base. Well, I mean, that's exactly what I'm trying to work on. I'm trying to expand the emerald floor. Honestly, I feel like it's just so underrated. I think it looks so good. But that's probably also because I can't get grass in this world, and this is the only green I can see. I kept zombifying villagers, curing them, getting better deals. I clean out the bamboo farm because that thing's getting really full. I do some stick trades. My brand new sugarcane farm's coming in clutch as well. I managed to make a ton of emeralds to the point that I actually finished up with doing the entire floor of Trader Tower. It was a long process, but I mean, I still got it done. I'm definitely gonna have to expand the Trader Tower. I'm thinking about maybe doing a whole level of just Fletchers and then another level of just cartographers, because I definitely need to invest in doing some glass trades. And on day 770, I wanted to upgrade the mob farm because, well, the chests are getting pretty full. This thing's pumping out so much loot, it's ridiculous. But to be able to expand the mob farm, I'm going to need to make some hoppers. And for hoppers, I was going to need chests, and for chests, I need wood. I kind of used pretty much all my wood on the new brown pearl. Yeah. And hey, look, Captain Llama's mourning the death of his brethren. And so I pretty much just spent the rest of day 770 just growing and chopping down trees, trying to gather as much wood as possible so I don't got to do this for a little while. Day 771. About time I finally upgrade this mob farm. I wanted to set up plenty of chests because I don't want to have to worry about looting this thing for a while. So I cascaded some chests and built a platform underneath the already existing platform so I can have some easy access to get all the way down there to the chests. And I also figured, just for a safe measure, since this thing really is pumping out a lot of mobs, I figured that I would load up my inventory and shulker box as much as possible with just tons of mob trash, so I can be able to go put it in the storage room for later. And so that way that this thing will actually be a little bit cleaned out, because I mean, honestly, like I said, it's just pouring out too many mobs. Day 772 to 800. Yeah, no, this is I want you guys to know this is a big project. Recently I uploaded a video of me draining out an entire ocean monument. If you guys haven't seen it, I'll have a link down below. But it was a lot of work. It took an insane amount of time, and it was definitely the hardest single project I've had to do in Minecraft. But ever since doing that video, I had this idea about, in the ocean world, I have the exposed stronghold, and I've been wanting to make it so it's a lot easier to get all the way down to the end portal. So I thought it would be a great idea to just cascade some blocks all the way up to the surface. But what I didn't realize is that this was going to take a long time. For days I'd be placing blocks all the way up to the surface, going round and around the portal over and over and over. You don't realize how hard it is to build things underwater until you're actually doing it. I can't even tell how many times I was attacked by drowns or a fish got in the way. But eventually I finally made my way to the surface, and well, I mean, I felt very achieving, but I wasn't done yet, because although I was closing in on 800 days, I wanted to try to get as much done as possible. But luckily though, since I did that ocean monument video, I actually have a really good strategy of how to get all the water out of this thing. That's pretty much just spread out about 5 blocks and then make a really long row of sand all the way through, so it divides a little area so that I'm able to just place down sponges and then soak them all up. And I pretty much just continue to repeat that process over and over and over. But it was definitely worth it. This thing is going to be awesome when we're done. But unfortunately, I didn't even have time to completely clear out the last row of sand because the sun was finally setting on day 800. Comment down below some ideas that you guys would like to see for this. I'm thinking about building a giant structure for this portal. Who knows? Maybe it even turns into a new base. I don't know. All I do know is that I want it to look absolutely awesome. And I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun filming it. I really worked all the way down to the last minute on it. And if you guys are new here and you did enjoy the video, make sure you guys subscribe. Make sure you guys also hit that like button if you guys have not already. And if you guys are new to this series, make sure to check the playlist link down in the description to go check out all the 100 Ocean Day videos. And for now, I'll see you guys in the next one.